Once upon a time, in the beautiful Kingdom of Ashford, there lived a people full of laughter and light. The streets were always busy, the markets always bright, and the castle at the center of it all gleamed like a pearl under the sun. But inside those shining walls, something was hidden, a secret that would one day change everything. Princess Seraphina was the most beautiful girl in all of Ashford, and she knew it. Every morning she woke up and stood before her golden mirror for a full hour, admiring what she saw. She had dresses made of the finest silk, shoes carved from crystal, and jewels that sparkled like trap stars. But underneath all that beauty, her heart had grown cold and proud. Seraphina had no patience for anyone she considered beneath her. When servants made mistakes, even tiny ones, she punished them without mercy. She mocked the poor villagers who came to the castle gates. She laughed at anyone who wore plain clothes or had simple hair. The king and queen worried greatly, but every time they tried to correct her, she simply smiled and walked away. On the other side of the kingdom, in a small cottage near the edge of the village, lived a girl named Clara. She had no crown, no silk gown, and no golden mirror. But she had something far rarer, a heart full of kindness. Every day she helped her neighbors, shared what little food she had, and greeted every person she met with a genuine smile. One autumn evening, an old traveling merchant arrived at the castle gates with something extraordinary. Beneath a velvet cover on his cart sat an ancient mirror, its frame carved with strange symbols that no one could read. The merchant said it had been crafted by a powerful enchantress 1,000 years ago. He called it the Mirror of True Hearts. He warned the king this mirror does not show faces, it shows souls. The king examined the mirror with great curiosity. When he stood before it, the room gasped. His reflection appeared surrounded by a warm golden light. The merchant nodded. That light, he explained, is the color of a kind and honest heart. Every person who stands before this mirror will see not their face, but their true self. The king immediately ordered the mirror to be placed in the great hall, open for all to see. News of the magical mirror spread through Ashford like wildfire. Everyone was talking about it. Some people were excited. Some were afraid. What would the mirror say about them? What would it reveal? Some villagers who had done kind things felt hopeful. Others who kept dark secrets began to sweat and pace. And somewhere inside the castle, Princess Seraphina overheard the news and smiled with absolute confidence. When Princess Seraphina heard about the Mirror of True Hearts, she wasn't nervous at all. In fact, she was delighted. She immediately began planning her grand entrance. She would wear her finest gown, walk proudly into the great hall, and the mirror would show everyone something beautiful, because she believed herself to be perfect. She had no idea what was truly waiting for her. On the morning the mirror was unveiled to the public, half the kingdom showed up. People stood shoulder to shoulder in the great hall, their voices hushed in nervous anticipation. Children peeked from behind their parents' legs. Old women clutched their shawls. The king stood beside the mirror and raised his hand for silence. Then, slowly, the golden curtain fell, and the Mirror of True Hearts stood revealed. One by one, the villagers approached the mirror. A baker who had shared his bread through hard winters glowed with a warm amber light. A farmer who had always been honest shone with a steady golden hue. A mother who had sacrificed her own happiness for her children glowed the brightest of all, pure white gold. The crowd wept and cheered, but not everyone's reflection was beautiful. But then came a wealthy merchant, who was known for cheating his customers and hoarding his coins while beggars starved at his door. When he stood before the mirror, the room fell cold. His reflection appeared cloaked in dark, swirling gray. He turned and saw it. He stumbled backward. People he had wronged looked at him with steady eyes. The mirror had spoken without a single word. Then a simple village girl stepped forward. She wore no crown, no jewelry, no fine gown. She looked at the floor as she walked, as if she didn't want to take up too much space. When she stood before the mirror, the hall was flooded with light. The purest, brightest white gold anyone had ever seen. People shielded their eyes. And when the light settled, Clara stood there, quietly crying, not understanding why the mirror shone so brightly for someone like her. Then came Princess Seraphina. The crowd went silent the moment the hall doors opened. She walked in wearing her most extravagant gown, violet silk covered in tiny diamonds that caught every ray of torchlight. Her golden crown sat perfectly. She walked toward the mirror slowly, deliberately, with the absolute certainty that she was about to show the entire kingdom exactly what perfection looked like. Seraphina stood before the mirror. She smiled. She waited. And then the mirror showed her reflection. The crowd gasped, not with admiration, with shock. Her face was as beautiful as ever, but around her reflection swirled a cold, icy darkness. Thorny shadows curled like dark vines around her image. Her heart, the mirror was saying, was frozen. Beautiful on the outside, but cold and empty within. For the first time in her life, Princess Seraphina did not know what to do. She turned and ran. The sound of her heels on the marble floor echoed through the silent hall. She ran past the stunned crowd, past her ladies-in-waiting, past the guards, all the way to her room, where she slammed the door and sat on the floor, trembling. For hours, she sat alone, and for the very first time in her life, she was truly ashamed. Alone in the dark of her room, Seraphina sat on the cold floor and wept as she had never wept before. Not because people had laughed at her. Nobody had laughed. That almost made it worse. They had simply watched, in silence, with understanding. She had always believed she was the best thing in the kingdom. But the mirror, that ancient, honest mirror, had shown everyone the truth that she had been hiding, even from herself. It was the queen who came to her, not with anger, not with lectures, but with quiet love. She sat down beside her daughter on the cold floor, as if sitting on floors was something queens did every day. She took Seraphine's hands in her own, and in the silence of that dark room, she said the words that would begin to change everything. My darling, a crown covers your head, but a mirror shows your heart. And hearts, unlike faces, can always be changed. The next morning, Seraphina did something she had never done in her entire life. She left the castle alone, without her crown, without her jewels, without her attendants. She walked into the village in a plain white dress. And she truly looked at it for the very first time. She saw children with dirty knees and happy faces. She saw old men laughing on doorsteps. She saw women helping each other carry heavy baskets. She had walked through this same village 100 times, but she had never actually seen it. She found Clara in a small garden outside a simple cottage, watering flowers and humming quietly to herself. Seraphina stood at the gate for a long moment, her hand on the latch, trying to find words she had never needed before. Clara looked up. She didn't bow. She didn't back away. She simply looked at the princess the way she looked at everyone, with open, patient kindness. And somehow, that made Seraphina feel even smaller than the mirror had. "I have been unkind," Seraphina whispered. She didn't call Clara by a title. She didn't stand tall. She simply said the truest thing she knew. "I have looked at people like you my whole life and never really seen you. I mocked what I didn't understand. I was cruel because I was afraid that if someone else shone too brightly, there would be less light for me. I'm sorry. Truly." The garden was very quiet for a moment. Then Clara did something unexpected. She took the princess's hand. Over the days that followed, Clara showed Seraphina things no one had ever taught her. How to knead bread dough with your whole body. How to carry water without spilling it. How to sit with an elderly neighbor and just listen, not for any reason, just because listening matters. Seraphine's hands blistered. Her back ached. She got flour in her hair and mud on her shoes. And every single day, she went back for more. She began spending her afternoons at the village storehouse, helping distribute food to families who needed it. She didn't announce it. She didn't bring royal attendants with flags. She just showed up, with bread and vegetables and a willingness to kneel on the ground to speak to children at their own eye level. The villagers who had once feared and resented her began to look at her differently. Carefully at first, then with growing warmth. 3 weeks after the day she had run from the great hall in tears, Princess Seraphina walked back in. The hall was empty. It was just her and the mirror. She stood before it, no crown on her head, no performance in her posture. Just a girl, standing honestly before the truth. She took a long, slow breath, and she looked. And what she saw made her cry, not from shame, from hope. Her reflection glowed with a soft, warm amber gold light. Not blazing white like Clara's pure heart, not yet. But real, honest, growing. Like the first light of a sunrise that knows it will become a full and glorious day. She reached out her hand toward the glass. And she whispered, "I'm not finished yet. But I'm trying." And somehow, the mirror seemed to glow just a little brighter when she said it. Word of the princess's change had traveled through Ashford faster than any royal proclamation. People had seen her in the village. They had received food from her own hands. They had watched her kneel in the mud to help an old man whose cart had tipped over. And so, when she walked out onto the castle steps that bright morning, they cheered. Not for her beauty, not for her crown, for her heart. The king called for a ceremony. He did not give Clara gold or a title of land. He gave her something more lasting, recognition. He placed around her neck a silver medal engraved with 3 words, "True heart shines." And before all the nobles and all the people of Ashford, he said, "Kindness is not a small thing. It is the most powerful force in any kingdom. And this girl has shown us all what it truly looks like." After that day, something changed in Ashford. People came to the mirror of true hearts not in fear, but with intention. They came to ask themselves the hardest question any person can ask. Am I becoming who I truly want to be? The mirror became not a place of judgment, but a place of honest reflection. And slowly, one heart at a time, the kingdom grew kinder, brighter, and more true. And so, the mirror of true hearts did what no army, no law, and no royal decree could ever do. It showed an entire kingdom the truth, that beauty without kindness is just a reflection. That wealth without generosity is just hoarding. That pride without humility is just fear wearing a crown. Seraphina never forgot what the mirror had shown her on that day. And every morning after that, before she looked in any mirror, She asked herself one simple question: is my heart worth seeing today? The answer, she promised herself, would always be yes.